question. That's right. The real game begins now. See, the Hogan brand was brought into question because of racist rants and is under attack. Even though he had a heart attack, and this was many years ago, the real fight begins now. Especially for Hogan, who's no longer here to defend himself. This has become the new level of, uh-oh, where do we go now? Because things gonna get real interesting now. Because this is when you find out, or you see white people become white people. Now, Brooke Hogan, his daughter, has been estranged from him. Doesn't mean she doesn't love her father. He had Hogan Knows Best, which they took off the air after 4 seasons due to how chaotic and toxic it was becoming to the family. And learning these families, and Hogan only agreed to do it for his family so that they could get some, fame for themselves. He didn't need it. Now, being Terry Bollea, he wanted to just remain the one figure and then they can go amongst their lives. But the family wanted to branch out and be famous, mostly his wife, Linda. So she wanted this reality show so Hogan can make money and they can be like the Kardashians. Now, here's where it's going to get real interesting. And I mean real interesting. Sorry about that, everyone. The last season was crazy, right? Okay. Now, let's get everything back in the fold so everyone would know. See, even though he was the biggest thing in wrestling, put wrestling on his back, Vince McMahon made all the money. Vince was the billionaire. Hulk Hogan was a millionaire. Now, he helped Vince become a billionaire. Vince made all the lion's share of the money while he gave these guys proceeds off of the merchandise. All that Hulkamania, Hulk Hogan didn't license any of it. Vince McMahon owned it. So, all that yellow, the red, the merchandise for Hulkamania this, Hulkamania that, it was all Vince McMahon. So he would pay Hulk Hogan, and Hogan loved getting paid. Hogan didn't have medical insurance through his whole WrestleMania championship days. He wasn't being paid what he was supposed to get paid. Vince was basically saying, here, I'm going to give you a check for using your likeness rights. Here's a couple of million. So it was, wow, that's amazing. Hogan had a relationship with Vince, and he would tell Vince how the matches would go, but he wasn't part of the business like that. He wasn't part of running the whole operation. He just wanted things to go favorably for him. He make the decisions on who's gonna beat him, how is it gonna happen. He wanted that kind of control. Didn't care about the rest of wrestling. Only self-preservation. That's the only thing Hogan cared about. Now, Hogan didn't have medical insurance. He didn't. He had to pay out of pocket. During that time, he was just a wrestler. And even though he's riding the train of Hulkamania, they're working 360, carrying the weight of heavyweight champion. That means flights to Japan to wrestle in Japan. Hogan was everywhere. And he did this for like 4 years straight. Before then, he's now making a movie. Now, here's the problem. Down the stretch, Hogan, I believe, started to get his affairs in order. He started to get different imprints where he copywritten Hulkster. The Hulkster brand was his. Hulkamania was Vince. So he had Hulkster. It's the Hulkster. And then he had Hulkamania. And then there was a collision on who owned what and was it infringing on the copyright. It was a whole bunch of stuff going on that the general public just knew nothing about. So all the action figures, merchandising deals, Hogan was like, look, Vince, y'all been family. Just make it fair. Just make it fair for me. So to making it fair, man, don't cut my throat. You see what I'm doing here? Stop trying to cut my throat on the business end. So they wanted to do one special thing and then get back to business. WWE. So here's what became an issue. When they all decided, without rhyme or reason, hold on. Booyah. Now, without rhyme or reason, they decided to come up with a slick, savvy way of doing something that I found to be a little conniving. Hulk Hogan, they're trying to say Hogan didn't have a will. Well, it appeared that he did, but he did not. See, everyone said he got all these millions of dollars from Gawker. No, he was awarded that kind of money. What you actually get and what you actually receive are two different things. Gawker didn't have all that money. So Hogan was awarded it. The company filed for bankruptcy. So even though Hogan was awarded all of this money, he never really got all of it. The lawyers got what little bit they had, a few million here, and the rest of all that money, the company owed that. They filed for bankruptcy. Good luck getting it now. You're not going to get any money. That's done. Now, what happens to Hulk Hogan now? You might be asking yourself. Well, what happens to Hogan? Hogan was the man. What will become of Hulkamania? Enter Brooke Hogan, right? Everybody knows Brooke because she was trying to be a singer, an actress, a model. Didn't know what she wanted to do. But she's the one that got the most fanfare because she was a 6 foot tall blonde with boobs, right? So she wanted to be a star. Then came the controversy of Hogan actually making a statement speaking on his then situation with his wife. And as the show split and the popularity of Linda getting all this press and all of this TMZ and his wife Linda, she was most famously known for being very disrespectful. I mean, extremely disrespectful. It got to the point where their disrespect became, it was like more to the point where Hogan couldn't take it no more. And he just decided she wanted fame more than anything. And then she started having an affair with one of Brooke's friends. He was a friend of Brooke and their son. And she started sleeping with him, who she thinks was a younger version of her husband, Hulk Hogan. So when his wife, Linda, started sleeping with the son's and daughter's friend, that's when they split permanently. Hogan had to leave. So now, in the divorce, Linda didn't get all she thought she was going to get because Hogan didn't have all this money as they thought. So he was taking care of the house and everything, but other than that, Hogan didn't have all that money. So now Hogan's got to go back to work. Now, being out of wrestling and was supposed to be retired, Hogan's got to go back to work. And one of the old partners from back in the day, she was screwing around with a wrestler who was known for screwing rich women. And she was like, I'm going to start my own wrestling. I'm going to take down Vince McMahon and start my own wrestling league. And she came out with TNA. Everybody said, tits and ass? She's like, no, TNA Wrestling. And she had the big check. She was writing all this money again. So the wrestler called up like, yo, I've been nailing this chick. Remember what's her name from back in the day? Yeah, well, she's got all this money. And she's ready to throw it in the wrestling. Y'all up for it? He was like, hey, man, let me get my back pills. I'm ready. So they start calling up the old buddies, the old crew. Everybody start rolling back out. And Hulk Hogan got in there and manipulated his way into some type of control and brought his daughter in as a storyline. Then he started dating a girl that was friends with Brooke. And Hogan was about to marry her if he didn't marry her already. So now they got Jarrett running things. Hogan's back in there. They got all these guys doing what they want to do. Nobody's really watching this. It's a mess of a show because they just keep adding new things on. They have no storylines that really play out. And they were just building matches off name recognition. And the wrestlers who were good on TNA, they never got highlighted. When they have a good match, it never was highlighted. So they didn't know how to sell it over to the people. The ratings were terrible. The money was just burning through. And she's like, we're just burning so much money fast. And then it was only a matter of time before TNA closes its doors. But all of them was going to get a check. And they did. They ate very well. Now, here's where it's going to get even more interesting for you. You're going to love this. Hogan breaks up with Brooke's friend that she loved, that he was dating her. So Hogan breaks up with her and married the girl he's with now. Brooke wasn't too happy about that breakup. And she took that one pretty much to heart. She didn't like the way that went down. She was not really on board with that situation. And her mother, she really been estranged from her for a while because Linda is a little bit controlling and psycho. And so was Mr. Hogan. For the first 18 years of her life, she was fighting for her independence. So to get away from Hogan, she left Clearwater, Florida, to go all the way to Orlando. Because she just has to get away. But no, that's where she's with her husband that she met. They were dating. They now have 2 kids. I believe they're twins. And she really hadn't had a relationship with her father since he left. Right, since he left, the girl. Now, due to this, Hogan's son injured and paralyzed his friend, drunk driving in the car, hit them, injured everybody in the car. Oh, I'll tell you about Mr. T and Hulk Hogan. We'll do that on the Patreon. You'll find that pretty interesting. Because he was like, the many times I took up for you, fool. I brought you on my show. Well, that's the way he chose to move. So because he chose to move like that, Hogan allowed her life too. Oh, of course he did. But Hogan's son was out here playing the man who his son and the man who they sued Hogan for millions. Hulk Hogan's family had to pay that. So while his son almost killed a man, had to serve some time in jail behind it for manslaughter charges. You know, Hogan's political friend pulled strings. Hogan had to come out, make appearances, donate to the campaign because they got his son out of a jam. So he felt like, I owe him, which he did. He owed him. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This is where things start to take off, right? It's gonna get a little weird for some, but for us, we're oftenly too familiar with the situation. Here's where things decided to get a little weird. The son, after coming home, after almost killing a man in a vehicular homicide, almost vehicular accident, got body, basically he's just in a chair for the rest of his life, you know, being a passenger in the car of a drunk driver. It's kind of why I like to drive myself and control my own destiny. Now, when you see certain things happen that doesn't usually add up, you only question yourself when you feel like you're not doing enough, or something isn't, or some parts are inadequate. Now, here's where the problem lies. When you make up your mind that there is so much in the world that you want to do and you're not able to, that's where you're going to have a problem. You're trying to make up things in your own mind to justify how you feel about a situation, right? For instance, Hulk Hogan is keep trying to defend his son. His son keeps going out getting DUIs, right? Hogan comes to the scene of the crime, and he's just had like his hip replacement surgery, so he's walking with a cane. His son goes through all of this, right? Hogan, again, has a good relationship with the cops in the area. So now, because of his relationship with the cops in the area, what he decides to do is to do something that doesn't register, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't add up with the basis of what's going on in the premise of the things around him. All of these connections he had to help his son out, this is financially straining on him because all you got is bills and they're gonna keep piling up. So Hogan's trying to keep his name out there and his image, and now he wants to go back to work. Now he wants to get a new brand going. He's got a restaurant, he's got a store, he's got this beer called All American Beer, Hulk Hogan's beer. And he was going on tours. I just met him a year ago when he came here. And I was saying, like, man, it's good when I met him when I did, because I probably wouldn't have had a chance to meet him. And I was thinking because of Ric's condition. Right? Because of Ric Flair's condition, I never saw Hulk being the one that was going in. Hulk Hogan changed his diet to a complete lactose diet, where he ate a lot of dairy and had organic stuff in the fridge. So, Ric Flair is another person who's broke, and it's sad to see, but most of it is because of Ric's lifestyle. He can't stop being Ric Flair. Richard Flair was dead in the 70s. He's been Ric Flair ever since, and he can't turn it off. And because of that, excessive spending, the money's not coming in. He still got to live the lavish lifestyle, and he don't have the income for that. When Ric Flair's son was in rehab, Hogan paid at that time to put his son in the rehab. And when Flair got the money, he tried to give it back to Hogan, and he wouldn't have it. He said, no, brother, I would never charge you for that. I will never take money back for that. So that's why Flair felt so indebted to Hulk, for what he did for his son. Now, here's how all of this plays. Now you know all the things leading up to the events of today, from the beginning to now. So now, Hogan has this new wife that the daughter is not too fond of, Brooke. Brookson said she wants some of her daddy's money. She never wanted that at all. But she didn't show up to the memorial. Everybody thought, oh my God, his own daughter didn't show up. One, because she's explained. I did what my dad would have wanted me to do or mourn in his own way. Hulk Hogan never wanted a funeral. He didn't want it. He found the whole idea of funerals to be just too much, adding on more stress and more grief than actually healing. So he says he never wanted a funeral. Just people getting together or having some memories, talking about the old days. That's fine. But he did not want to be on display for the whole world to see him deceased. You know, he didn't want that. So she decided to honor him the way he always wanted, to be on the beach, putting his feet in the sands of the beach, looking out into the ocean. That's what he loved to do, watch the waves coming in. So that's how Hogan carried himself. Now, she chose to honor him that way. She's never mentioned she wanted any money from him. Her husband seems like he does well and that they have a good lifestyle. Now, the son and Linda, that's where you're going to have to look at when it comes to this battle for the money. His new wife, his old wife, Linda, and his son. Hulk Hogan had 40 million and probably assets. If you sold everything, it's probably worth about $40 million. And you're like, for Hulk Hogan, it should be a lot more. Like I told you, Vince owned a lot of that stuff. So now, all of this material that they have with Hogan and all of this, Linda is fighting with the new wife to see who gets the fortune. Did he have a will? Linda said he did, and we're in it. And they said Hogan's daughter, she asked to be out of the will. She don't want no parts of Hogan's money. And now it was like, did Hogan even have a will? And it's kind of surprising if he didn't have a will, because to be in the game that long and not have something for your family, especially if you have a wife and kids, to support them after you're gone. Well, now if everything goes to the new wife, I don't think Linda and his son, you know, they're all going to fight for what they think is theirs and go from there. Yes, Hogan had a restaurant, he had a store, and he had the Great American Beer, and he trademarked the Hulkster. That's different from Hulkamania. Hulkamania was owned by Vince McMahon and Titan Sports. That's why he could be called the Hulkster, because that's why he wore the shirt Hulkster everywhere. He wasn't wearing Hulkamania. He wasn't wearing that when he was in WCW. He was wearing Hulkster on all his stuff because that was the brand he owned. Well, Brooke is more happier with her family, her kids, and her husband. They seem to be financially set or have their own ways of getting money. But people like Linda and her son, they got to find a way to figure it out. The son, who's just been living off his daddy's fortune, who hadn't really done anything but caused money to go out the other way, out the other door. Now, the money situation, this is going to take months, if not a year, to get situated. I'm going to see Weapons tonight. I'm preparing myself for it. I want to see it in its clearest form. No, I never felt that. Uh, There's a lot being made into that. Most of it is political. Most of it is political. No, because when you lean down the avenues of where these people are going, their traits start to show, and it start to deteriorate around everything negative. No, I think it's a really good movie. I've been waiting for Weapons for a while. If anybody know me, you already know that. Mm. That's very interesting that you would say something like that. I never felt like that. Well, that's a political move. I mean, they act like Hulk Hogan said that last week. I mean, to bring that up when somebody dies, like the man just died, and y'all want to bring that up, it's tacky. So that's what's going on in Hogan news. It's your boy Carcino. I am out. Don't forget to go to my Patreon. We're going to have a lot to talk about and go from there. And we out.